The problem with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Now, a couple of days ago, it was announced that Aaron Rodgers turned down a contract extension with the Green Bay Packers that was really lucrative. And then, not too long ago, a report has came out that Devontae Adams and the Packers are far away in terms of coming to agreement to a new contract. Now, when you look at this whole Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay fiasco, initially a couple of months ago, I was on the side of the Green Bay Packers. I felt like Aaron Rodgers at the time was being a drama queen, and he already had enough talent to win. But now, over the last couple of months, now that I've had a chance to think about a couple of things, my stance on the Aaron Rodgers and Packers debacle has changed. I understand why Aaron Rodgers feels the way that he does towards the Green Bay Packers, and the fact that he turned down a very lucrative contract with Green Bay tells you that this is about more than money. This is about respect. And when you look at the Green Bay Packers, I definitely feel like they have been really disrespectful in terms of how they have handled their star quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And there is a bigger problem than what a lot of people are realizing about this. You see, a lot of people are trying to make this about, well, Aaron Rodgers wants the same amount of talent that Tom Brady has and whatnot. And I don't really think that's the full gist of it. I think it's more than just, Aaron Rodgers wanting to have a little bit more say-so in terms of the personnel decisions. But I also feel like Aaron Rodgers feels like this franchise, in terms of how the front office has viewed him, has kind of ignored them in a way. And they're not really listening to him. And he probably feels a little bit disrespected. Now, the NFL, unlike the NBA, is not a player-driven league. The NBA is a league that is dictated by the players. Players have a lot of control in terms of, the ratings, the revenue, and also when it comes to the moves that their certain franchise makes in the offseason when it comes to trading for new players, or rather that be signing new players. Normally, the star players on NBA franchises have a lot of leverage and a lot of say-so. And a big reason for that is because of guaranteed contracts. But in the NFL, you don't really have that. You see, you have star players who don't really have that much say-so in terms of the personnel decisions that these teams make. The reason for that is because the NFL is not a player-driven league. The NFL is driven by brands. Most of the people who watch the NBA, I would say about 80%, watch the NBA and root for a certain team because of the player who's on the team. For example, you have people who used to watch the Miami Heat because LeBron played. And then when LeBron left, they went to the Cleveland Cavaliers and they became a Cavaliers fan. Then when LeBron left the Cavs and went to the Lakers, they became Lakers fans. You have a lot of people in the NBA who are fans of the players instead of the teams. But in the NFL, it's the complete opposite. You have people who are fans of the team instead of being fans of the players. And I would say about 80% of people who consume the NFL and watch the NFL regularly root for the team and don't really root for a specific team because of the players. Now, you may have players who you root for, who you like a lot, but you're mainly a fan of the team first, then the players second. And in the NFL, there is starting to become a power struggle between star players and the franchise. You have star players who want a little bit more say-so in terms of personnel decisions, and the franchise is not really hearing those guys out. And I think that's a big problem that the Green Bay Packers currently have with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is their star quarterback. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. And he's kind of being tuned out, like his opinion doesn't matter. And I was watching the I Am Athlete podcast with Chad Ocho, Cinco, Brandon Marshall, Shanning, and Fred Taylor. And there was an episode where they had Andre Johnson on, and he was talking about the situation with Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans organization as a whole. And basically the problem is that Deshaun Watson wanted a little bit more say so in terms of what the Texans do personnel wise. And Houston Texans basically ignored them. He wanted them to interview Eric Bieniemy. He also kind of wanted to have a little bit of a say so in the head coaching process. And the Texans pretty much tuned them out. And then that led to Deshaun Watson asking for a trade. Now, Brandon Marshall and Chad Ocho Cinco and everybody else in this episode had a really heated discussion about this. And basically, Brandon Marshall was asking the question, what will it take for the NFL to get to the point where the NBA is, where players have a little bit more say-so in their franchises? And Chad Johnson said that will probably never happen. Because in the NFL, it's not driven by the players and we don't have guaranteed contracts. And we probably are really far away from ever having guaranteed contracts in the NFL because of the NFLPA. The NBA's PA, their player association, which is where a lot of these salary disputes are settled, isn't really as good as the NFL's PA. And the NFL Player Association doesn't really get all that much done. Now, Chad Ochocinco said that these owners have a way of, when you step out of line, of putting you in your place. Chad Ochocinco said, and I quote, "You get your ass out of line with these people, and they're going to find a way to whip you back in it." And I 110% agree with the statement that Chad Ochocinco said on that episode of I Am Athlete. Basically, whenever you have a player that is not conforming into the front office and has their chest poked out trying to make demands, you're going to have the issue. And when you look at Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers front office viewed him as getting out of line. And you know what the Packers' way of getting Aaron Rodgers back in line was? It was trading and drafting quarterback Jordan Love in the first round of the NFL draft. Drafting Jordan Love was more of trying to find Aaron Rodgers' successor. Drafting Jordan Love was a power move and a scare tactic on the Packers' behalf to get Aaron Rodgers to sit down and stop talking. And like Chad Ochocinco said, if you get out of line with these owners and you get out of line with these people, they're going to find a way to get you to sit back down and to fall back in line. And that's what the Packers did when they drafted Jordan Love. Jordan Love was not just all about finding their next franchise quarterback. It was about using him as leverage to get Aaron Rodgers to stop making all these demands and to get Aaron Rodgers into fall in line with the Packers program. And you also see a similar thing with Deshaun Watson. I find it funny how when Deshaun Watson asked for a trade, all of a sudden we had all of these accusations by like 18, 19 women come out that Deshaun Watson was kind of having some misconduct with them. And I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is innocent or guilty, but I'm just finding it really strange about the whole timing of the situation. And like Chad Ochocinco said, these people, when you get out of line, they're going to find a way to get you back in line. And when you look at Aaron Rodgers, the Packers thought that they had all of the leverage on Aaron Rodgers. This is where the Packers went wrong, though. When they drafted Jordan Love, they basically were sending a message to Aaron Rodgers. They're basically saying, okay, Aaron Rodgers, if you don't fall in line with us, we're going to replace you with Jordan Love. They also thought that Aaron Rodgers was regressing. Because remember, Aaron Rodgers, under Matt LaFleur in his first year, although they went to the NFC Conference Championship game, Aaron Rodgers didn't have the great season that he normally has. And there were a lot of people who felt like Aaron Rodgers was kind of regressing. And the Packers probably felt that as well, which is why they also drafted Jordan Love, because they thought Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be all that great. Well, it turns out they ended up being wrong in their analysis because Aaron Rodgers ended up winning MVP. And now the Packers are now looking at this situation because now Aaron Rodgers, it came out during the NFL draft that he wanted to be traded. And that the 49ers and a couple of other teams were making offers for Aaron Rodgers, but the Packers turned them down. And now Aaron Rodgers basically isn't going to get traded because the Packers are putting a foot down. They're basically saying, no, Aaron, we are not going to trade you. You have two options, to either play or retire. And there's threats out there that Aaron Rodgers will retire. And maybe he will. And for the Packers, they're basically saying, Aaron, you either play for us or you just retire. And what the Packers are doing is they don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. You see, they're trying to offer him all this money to make up for it. But at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is a stubborn person. That's a good thing and a bad thing in some situations. But when you look at Aaron Rodgers is a guy who has no problem with retiring. He can end up retiring. Yeah, he may miss the game, but he can go ahead and host Jeopardy full time, which is something that he loves doing. And the biggest mistake that the Packers made was not just ignoring Aaron Rodgers' demand. You remember a couple of years ago when the Packers first hired Matt LaFleur and him and Aaron Rodgers kind of were clashing heads, per se? And you know what the Packers told Aaron Rodgers? They reportedly told Aaron Rodgers, they said, hey, Aaron, do us a favor and don't be the problem. The Packers literally told their star quarterback not to be the problem. Let me repeat that again. The Packers told the best quarterback in franchise history, in a franchise that has had Brett Favre and Brett Starr, some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, not to be the problem. They didn't even attempt to listen to Aaron Rodgers. That was the ultimate sign of disrespect and the ultimate slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, despite what you want to say about his leadership and whatnot, he may not be the easiest player to work with. He may be an a-hole. But there are a lot of players who were great, who were considered a-holes. Kobe Bryant was considered an a-hole. Peyton Manning was considered an a-hole. When you have a player that is great and wants to be great and wants to have success, they hold their teammates to that same standard. Same thing with Michael Jordan. And when you're not living up to their standard of greatness, they view you in a different light. And that's why players like Aaron Rodgers and Kobe Bryant and MJ were kind of considered hard players to work with because of how they held their teammates to the same standard that they held themselves. Now, it's not to say that Aaron Rodgers is just a completely bad leader. He's not a great leader, but he's not a bad leader. He's also somebody who isn't really great when it comes to, managing certain situations. He's kind of like a drama queen or a diva per se. So he's not innocent in this right neither. But when you look at the Packers, you definitely could take into account some of the demands or something that Aaron Rodgers wants to look in. You see, everybody nowadays, this generation, is always asking the question, how can you maintain a relationship long term? And there's not really a book about how you can maintain a relationship long term. There's a lot of different variables and factors that goes into having a 50-year marriage or 10-year relationship and whatnot. But one of the key factors is being able to compromise. You have to be able to compromise with your significant other if you want your relationship to last. If you are dating a girl and y'all always go out to the places that you want to go out to, and your girlfriend offers you a suggestion and says, hey, maybe we should check out this restaurant, and you just ignore her, you think your girl is going to stay with you for a long time if you don't even want to consider what she has to say? You look at the situation with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Tom Brady compromised for years and years, taking pay cuts for the Patriots to sign the players that they needed to compete. But in Tom Brady's final season with the Patriots, he basically told Bill Belichick, I want to get paid what I deserve or bring in the players that I want. And Bill Belichick basically told him, have a nice life, nice time knowing you. And Robert Kraft couldn't really do anything because Robert Kraft already forced Bill Belichick to do one thing, and that was trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. Bill Belichick never wanted to trade away Jimmy Garoppolo, but Tom Brady felt threatened by Jimmy G. So Robert Kraft went to Bill Belichick. He said, hey, you got to get rid of him. And you know what Bill Belichick did? He compromised. He got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. What if Bill Belichick would have stood firm to Robert Kraft, his boss, and said, you know what, I'm not trading him. And I'll just go and coach another team and lead them to success. But he ended up getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, so he compromised. But after that, Bill Belichick was done compromising, and Tom Brady was done compromising, which is what led to the divorce. And when you look at the Green Bay Packers, it seems like neither Aaron Rodgers or Green Bay wants to compromise. Aaron Rodgers wants a little bit of say in the personnel decisions for Green Bay, and Green Bay doesn't want to give that up. And normally, when it comes to compromise in the NFL, you have normally a franchise that wants to sign certain players, but they can't because you have players hogging up all the salary cap. Like for Russell Wilson, for example. When it was reported at earlier this offseason that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks were at odds because he wanted Seattle to improve the offensive line. But how can you improve the offensive line where you're getting this much money? You have to compromise if you want to win. You just can't get all of this money and then expect this team to improve if you're hogging up all the salary cap. That's why you have to compromise. You look at Kansas City. When they lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, what did Kansas City do? They went to Patrick Mahomes. They went into a couple of star players on Kansas City. They said, listen, if you guys want to win, you guys have to take a pay cut. And if you guys don't want to take a pay cut, you don't have to. It's just that we can improve the team. So you had a couple of players on Kansas City who decided to take a pay cut, and they decided to compromise their salaries, taking less money so they could win. And they ended up making that compromise, and now Kansas City has assembled the Avengers of the offensive line. That's part of what makes a relationship work long term. You have to be able to compromise. Not just you, but your significant other has to also be able to compromise with you. You look at the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, it seems like neither side is willing to compromise. And if you want to be able to have a long-term relationship in this world, you got to be able to sacrifice some things. And it seems like neither the Packers or the Aaron Rodgers are willing to make any sacrifices. And it's going to end up that one or two things are going to happen. Aaron Rodgers either plays this year with Green Bay, he plays out the remainder of his contract with the Packers, and he leaves Green Bay and joins another team, or he ends up retiring. I think that maybe there's a strong possibility that maybe Aaron Rodgers just throws his hands up and says, you know what, I'm not going to play this year, and I'm just going to retire. Or he just plays out this contract and leaves for free agency. And for the Packers, I feel like they definitely mishandled this. But at the same time, they created this monster. Green Bay for years coddled Aaron Rodgers under Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy gave Aaron Rodgers so much control to the point that Aaron Rodgers felt he was above Mike McCarthy. And in some absence, he was. And it divided the locker room because players didn't know who to listen to. Do you listen to the coach or do you listen to the guy throwing the football? And that was all because Mike McCarthy allowed Aaron Rodgers to have too much power. And when you look at Green Bay, when Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers were finally at odds, Green Bay was forced to choose between the two. It was either Aaron Rodgers or Mike McCarthy, and the Packers sided with Aaron Rodgers. They fired Mike McCarthy and hired Matt LaFleur. But after that, it seems like they have ignored Aaron Rodgers. It seems like they have ignored his demands. And when you look at Green Bay, I mean, like, you were calling Aaron Rodgers. Now all of a sudden you just don't want to listen to what he has to say. And that's why in the NFL you have a lot of teams who are hesitant to listen to their star players because they don't want their star players to overmine the GMs and the guys above them in the suits and ties in the front office. They always want to maintain control. They want the player to be the player and strictly play football. And they want to allow the guys in the front office to make the decisions on the field. But oftentimes that doesn't really work out a lot because certain times you have players who actually are playing on the field and they notice something. And when they notice it, they bring it to the attention of the guys in the front office and they ignore it. And most of the times, it doesn't end up working out in the front office's favor because when you ignore the players, you end up not being all that great because players on the field actually see something that maybe you in the suit and tie may not see. Like Andre Johnson on the episode that I was just referring to earlier on the I Am Athlete podcast, he said that he went up to the Houston Texans ownership and told them that they were too top heavy. They needed more. And what did the Texans do? They ignored them. And what happened? Despite the fact that they made it to the playoffs, after that, they missed the playoffs. Andre Johnson wanted out. They wouldn't let him. Similar thing with Deshaun Watson. It's really crazy that Deshaun Watson just got an extension not too long ago. Then after it, he wanted out. And like Chad Johnson said, you really think these owners are going to cut a check for you and then let you leave? Absolutely not. So when you look at the whole Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers fiasco, the biggest problem is you got nobody who wants to compromise. You have the Packers who disrespected Aaron Rodgers, basically ignoring his demands, pretty much telling Aaron Rodgers to just shut up and play. And then what really started this, I believe, is when they told Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago when they first hired Matt LaFleur to not be the problem. They basically say, Aaron, you need to shut up and play and let us do our jobs. And I understand when a player comes up to you and tells you that they need this and they need that, it can come off as kind of, trying to say that you're trying to tell them how to do their jobs. I understand that, but at the same time, you can't have egos if you want to win. At the end of the day, if you want to have success in any sport, whether that be the MLB, the NBA, or the NFL, it has to be one team, one goal. Everybody has to have one goal in mind. Everybody has to be on the same page, from the ownership to the general manager to the head coach to the players on the field. Everybody has to buy into the philosophy. Everybody has to buy in. And for the Green Bay Packers, they're stubborn. You got Aaron Rodgers who is stubborn, and nobody is trying to compromise. And the reason for this is because of egos. People in the Packers front office have strong egos that they don't want to listen to Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers also has a really strong ego. And you have the clashes of egos, and it's going to be interesting to find out how this works out. But when you look at teams who are successful, they don't have big egos, and the big egos normally get shipped out. Look at what happened with the Seattle Seahawks. And the whole Legion of Boom with Richard Sherman, when everybody was, talking about the whole decision to, instead of running the football with Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line, they threw the football. And that pretty much changed the whole entire team, because now you had all these players speaking out. The locker room was pretty much divided, and you had to get rid of some of the vocal guys like Richard Sherman. You can't have egos if you're trying to win. Everybody has to be on the same page. It's okay for players to have personalities. And yes, you may have conflicting personalities that conflict with each other, but at the end of the day, you cannot let egos affect your success on the field. And it looks like Green Bay's ego and Aaron Rodgers' ego has gotten in the way of the Packers having success. And what's coming down to it is that this is going to get really ugly, it's going to get really messy, and this divorce is not going to be pretty. Aaron Rodgers is either going to retire, or he's going to play out his remaining contract with the Green Bay Packers, and then he's going to leave. And then that leaves Jordan Love. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on Jordan Love. And he's probably going to have more pressure than any other quarterback in NFL history that was drafted number one. He wasn't even drafted number one overall. He was drafted in the tail end of the first round of the NFL draft a couple of years ago. But the reason why he's probably going to have more pressure than any other quarterback entering the NFL is because he was the guy brought in to replace Aaron Rodgers. And he wasn't really brought in. He was pretty much meant to be a threat. He was drafted to send a message to Aaron Rodgers. The Green Bay Packers thought that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be all that great this year. And they were wrong in their assessment. He balled out. So now you have Green Bay, who's now trying to rekindle their relationship with Aaron Rodgers. They've been trying to meet up with him all offseason, trying to offer him all this money. It's too late now. Once you show a sign of disloyalty, that's unforgivable. Nobody forgives when somebody changed on them. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys watching this never forget when somebody changed up on you. You never forget when somebody ignored your call. Because us as men, we keep up with that. We keep up with the people who actually pick up the phone when we need them. We actually remember the people who come through for us when we need them the most. We remember the people who told us no. We remember the people who told us yes. We remember the people who allowed us to borrow money from them and pay them back. We remember the people who told them no, they ain't have it. We remember this. And Aaron Rodgers remembers when they told him basically to shut up and not be the problem. And what did Aaron Rodgers become? He ended up becoming the problem. He said, all right, I'm going to become the problem. That's the problem with the Green Bay Packers. No pun intended. You have egos, too many egos. You have Aaron Rodgers, who already has a big ego. You have the Packers front office, which seems to have a very big ego. Nobody wants to compromise. All those are the signs to a very ugly and messy situation. And this is going to end up really ugly. And you already have it not working out with Devontae Adams as well. So that goes to show you that the Packers have really big egos. But Aaron Rodgers' ego is just as big.